Hi everybody, it's Miss Karen, the Young Adult Librarian at the Goshen Public Library. I'm back again with our very last edition of Fairytale Friday's Fractured Favorites. And this week we will be reading Rumpelstiltskin, featured in the Grimm Brothers collection of fairy tales. And then I'm going to tell you about a couple of young adult retellings of Rumpelstiltskin that are a little more current. So let's read the original version of Rumpelstiltskin first. Rumpelstiltskin. There once was a miller who was poor, but he had one beautiful daughter. It happened one day that he came to speak with the king, and to give himself consequence, he told him that he had a daughter who could spin gold out of straw. The king said to the miller, "Well, that is an art that pleases me well. If your daughter is as clever as you say, bring her to my castle tomorrow, that I may put her to the proof." When the girl was brought to him, he led her into a room that was quite full of straw, and gave her a wheel and a spindle, and said, "Now set to work, and if by early morning you have not spun this straw into gold, then you shall die." And he shut the door himself and left her there alone. And so the poor miller's daughter was left there sitting, and could not think what to do for her life. She had no notion of how to set to work to spin gold from straw, and her distress grew so great that she began to weep. Then all at once the door opened, and in came a little man, who said, "Good evening, miller's daughter. Why are you crying?" "Oh," answered the girl, "I have got to spin gold out of the straw, and I don't understand the business." When the little man said, "What will you give me if I spin it for you?" "My necklace," said the girl. The little man took the necklace, seated himself before the wheel, and whir, 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 3 times round, and the bobbin was full. Then he took up another, and whir, 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 3 times round, and that was full. And so he went on until morning, when all the straw had been spun, and all of the bobbins were full of gold. At sunrise came the king, and when he saw the gold he was astonished, and very much rejoiced, for he was very avaricious. He had the miller's daughter taken into another room filled with straw, much bigger than the last, and told her that as she valued her life, she must spin it all in one night. The girl did not know what to do, so she began to cry, and then the door opened and the little man appeared and said, "What will you give me if I spin all of this straw into gold?" "The ring from my finger," answered the girl. So the man took the ring and began again to send the wheel whirring around, and by the next morning all the straw was spun into glistening gold. The king was rejoiced beyond measure at the sight, but as he could never have enough gold, he had the miller's daughter taken into a still larger room full of straw, and said, "This too must be spun in one night, and if you accomplish it, you shall be my wife." For he thought, "Although she is but a miller's daughter, I am not likely to find anyone richer in the whole world." As soon as the girl was left alone, the little man appeared for the 3rd time and said, "What will you give me if I spin the straw for you this time?" "I have nothing left to give," answered the girl. "Then you must promise me the first child you have after you are queen," said the little man. "But who knows whether that will happen?" thought the girl. But as she did not know what else to do in her necessity, she promised the little man what he desired, upon which he began to spin until all the straw was gold. And when in the morning the king came and found all done according to his wish, he caused the wedding to be held at once, and the miller's pretty daughter became a queen. In a year's time she brought a fine child into the world, and thought no more of the little man. But one day he came suddenly into her room and said, "Now give me what you promised me." The queen was terrified greatly, and offered the little man all the riches of the kingdom if he would only leave the child. But the little man said, "No, I would rather have something living than all the treasures of the world." Then the queen began to lament and to weep, so that the little man had pity on her. "I will give you 3 days," said he, "and if at the end of that time you cannot tell my name, you must give up the child to me." Then the queen spent the whole night in thinking over all the names she had ever heard, and sent a messenger through the land to ask far and wide all of the names that could be found. And when the little man came the next day, Beginning with Casper, Melchior, Balthazar, she repeated all she knew and went through the whole list. But after each, the little man said, "No, that is not my name." The second day, the queen sent to inquire of all the neighbors what the servants were called, and told the little man all the most unusual and singular names, saying, "Perhaps you are roast ribs, or sheepshanks, or spindleshanks." But he answered nothing but, "No, that is not my name." The third day the messenger came back again and said, "I have not been able to find one single new name. But as I passed through the woods, I came to a high hill, and near it was a little house, and before the house burned a fire, and round the fire danced a comical little man. And he hopped on one leg and cried, 'Today do I bake, tomorrow I brew. The day after that the queen's child comes in. And oh, I am glad that nobody knew that the name I am called is Rumpelstiltskin.' You cannot think how pleased the queen was to hear that name. And soon afterwards, when the man walked in and said, 'Now, Mrs. Queen, what is my name?' She said at first, 'Are you called Jack?' 'No,' answered he. 'Are you called Harry?' she asked again. 'No,' answered he. And then she said, 'Then perhaps your name is Rumpelstiltskin.' 'The devil told you that! The devil told you that!' cried the little man, and in his anger he stamped with his right foot so hard that it went into the ground above his knee. Then he seized his left foot with both his hands in such a fury that he split in two, and there was the end of him." It's the end of Rumpelstiltskin. So I have two different versions of young adult retellings of Rumpelstiltskin. One is available in our physical book collection, and the other one is available on Overdrive. I'm going to start with the version that is available on Overdrive, and it is called Spinning Silver. See the cover there? And it is by Naomi Novik. It's available as an ebook on Overdrive. And I'll tell you what it's about. It's won a lot of awards. One of the 10 best books of the year by the New York Public Library, and one of the best books of the year by the New York Times Book Review. Says, let's see, Miriam is the daughter and granddaughter of moneylenders, but her father's inability to collect his debts has left his family on the edge of poverty until Miriam takes matters into her own hands. Hardening her heart, the young woman sets out to claim what is owed and soon gains a reputation for being able to turn silver into gold. When an ill-advised boast draws the attention of the king of Sterek, grim fey creatures who seem more ice than flesh, Miriam's fate and that of two kingdoms will be forever altered. She will face an impossible challenge and, along with two unlikely allies, uncover a secret that threatens to consume the lands of humans and Sterek alike. So this is a retelling of Rumpelstiltskin, fantasy. Like I said, it's a prize winner, so you might want to check it out. Of Overdrive, an ebook. So our physical book that we have available in our collection is called The Wish Granter. It's by C.J. Redwine. It is part of the Ravenspire series. Now, the Ravenspire books are not a series in that you have to read them all in the same order, or they build on one another. Ravenspire is a series of books that are all set in the land of Ravenspire, and they are all fairy tale retellings. So there are 4 of them. There's the Shadow Queen, the Traitor Prince, the Blood Spell, and the Wish Granter. You can read them in any order, and they are each a different fairy tale retelling. So this one is the Rumpelstiltskin retelling. The world has turned upside down for Tad and Ari Glavin, the twins of Sundrail's king. Their mother was murdered. The royal family died mysteriously, and now Tad sits on the throne of a kingdom whose streets are overrun with violence he can't stop. Growing up ignored by the nobility, Ari never wanted to be a proper princess, and when Tad suddenly starts training Ari to take his place, she realizes that her brother's ascension to the throne wasn't fate. It was the work of a wish-granter named Alastair Teague, who tricked Tad into wishing away his soul in exchange for the crown. So Ari recruits the help of Tad's enigmatic new weapons master, Sebastian, to teach her how to fight Teague. With secret ties to Teague's criminal empire, Sebastian might just hold the key to discovering Alastair's weaknesses, saving Ari's brother and herself. But Teague is ruthless, and now he has his sights set on the princess. And if Ari can't outwit him, she'll lose Sebastian, her brother, and her soul. So another take on Rumpelstiltskin with a bit of a trade. I will give you this if you give me that. And, of course, it turns out badly, like it did in Rumpelstiltskin. So if you're interested in checking this one out, you can reserve it online, or you can come into the library and check it out. We are open now between the hours of 10 and 1 and between the hours of 4 and 7. So you can come in and check the book out, or you can put it on hold and pick it up at our pickup window. So I hope you guys enjoyed hearing some favorite fairy tales and hearing about some retellings that are available in our collection. And I hope to see you guys soon in the library.